I talk a lot about the Pomodoro Technique. It is a study method that really helps you to focus because of its alternating focus intervals and rest intervals. I'm going to get into the details a little bit later, but it helps you to really extend your focus as well as be more intentional about your time and actually organize your study sessions. It has a huge number of benefits, and that's what I want to talk about today. But first, I'm Terrell, and this is Absolutely Studying. I bootstrapped my way through university while juggling a full-time job and a family. It was tough. But now I want to pay it forward. I want to supply you with all of the resources and support you need to flourish in your academic career. Today, we are talking about the Pomodoro Technique. We are going to talk about why it is helpful for focus. We're going to talk about why it is great for organization. And we are even going to lightly skim over some benefits. And I'll tell you how I got introduced to it and how I was finally sold. If you use the Pomodoro Technique or you have any more time management tips for studying, make sure to pop them in the comments below. I love to hear from you. So let's actually start by talking about what exactly the Pomodoro Technique is. The Pomodoro Technique is basically a focus method. What it is you spend 25 minutes focusing intensely on a given subject or your study activity. After that, you get a 5-minute break. With that break, you can do whatever you want as long as it is not productive. This is a great time to jump up and get away from your seat. It's also a great time to do any kind of tasks that you need to already do in your daily life. When you come sit down, because you stepped away from your desk, you feel super refreshed. You feel like you can dive back in and you can really focus. So these 25-minute focus intervals repeat 4 times. So you do 4 of them, each with a 5-minute break. And after the last one, you get an entire 20 minutes just to relax and let loose. After that, if you need to study longer, you can restart the Pomodoro Technique right from focus interval 1 and repeat 4 and another break, or you can go on and do whatever you need to do. So that is the long and the short of the Pomodoro Technique. If you do the entire 4 focus intervals, it'll take you about 2 hours, a little bit longer with the break period. But you also have the flexibility, because you are the master of your own domain, to just do 1 or 2 or however long you need to focus for. This is great not only for school, but also for work. I use it for both because it really helps me to get in there, get into whatever task I need to do without multitasking, get it done, and move on to the next thing. These 5-minute breaks are also really good for holding reward sessions. So if you are going to reward yourself for 20 minutes of reading with 5 minutes of social media or anything like that, or a treat or a deluxe coffee, these 5-minute breaks are just a great chance to indulge. So why is the Pomodoro method so effective? Why am I always talking about it? And that's because it teaches organization, discipline, and it helps you to learn how to focus. Hear me out. 25 minutes is not a really long time to hold your focus. Usually it's okay to put do not disturb on your phone for 25 minutes and just focus intensely on a single subject. You can do that. You can muster up the discipline and the focus to just focus for 25 minutes. This is asking a lot less of you than to focus for an entire 2 hours. Just 25 minutes. Put your phone away, hide it, turn off all of the other applications, turn on the do not disturb browser on your laptop or your iPad. Just focus on one task, on one activity, and you're going to be able to. It's just going to be so much easier to do that when you turn everything off and you just focus. Because it's a short amount of time, it's going to be more likely that you can. This is going to let your brain engage much more deeply and immerse itself in the content so you can get more done. You can retain more information, and your time is more meaningful because you are being so intentional and so focused and diving in so deeply. When you have these breaks, you then give yourself just a chance for your brain to completely reset. It'll switch over into diffuse mode if you do something creative or if you go off and do a couple of chores or something like that, but just 5 minutes to relax, step away from your desk, and maybe even get your blood pumping. This also gives you a chance, if you do use a reward technique, to give yourself that reward for accomplishing the task that you set yourself to during the 25-minute focus interval. Now, when you come back, you can either pick up where you left off, or you can switch to a completely different exercise to really cement that information in. So, how do you use it? In my study planner, it's free. I'll pop a link in the description below. I have a Pomodoro planner. So that gives you space to go through and plan every little study activity within the Pomodoro session. If you do several Pomodoro sessions in a row, if you're going to be studying for 3 or 4 hours, for example, you can just print off a couple of them and have them all on deck. That way, you already know what you're going to do before you sit down. Your study activities are organized, you know exactly what you need, and you can even prep them before you start your study session. That's going to make everything so much more efficient because you don't have to pause and try and figure out what you're going to do next. Everything is all planned and organized. You have the materials and you are ready. You're ready to get to work and you're not wasting any time. If you are going to dedicate your Pomodoro technique to something like your reading strategy, for example, you can spend the first 5 minutes of the first focus interval just picking out the parameters of what you're going to read. And then maybe the next 20 minutes skimming over it and pausing on any diagrams, reading those, trying to prime yourself for reading. The next 25 minutes, I might just dedicate to reading. And maybe I do 2 of those in a row, depending on how long the passage is. And then the last 25-minute focus interval in succession, I would spend just going back and scanning over it, or maybe even starting on some notes. I have a very, very layered reading strategy. I can link an article to it below, but I do go into it in a lot more detail in my digital course, and I will help you create your own there. Details in the description. So with studying, what I would do is I would check my syllabus, and I would go through and see what I was going to learn in the upcoming week. I would then sit there and I would plot all of my time for reading all of those concepts before I actually got to them in lecture. How I use the Pomodoro technique with the Pomodoro planner in prepping and studying for school is I would first block off all of my time throughout the week that I planned on studying. Then I would print off a corresponding Pomodoro planner or however many I need to cover those study sessions. Finally, I would start with my syllabus and look up what I was going to be learning that week in class. The very first study sessions I would plot in my Pomodoro planner would be just 25 minutes to go over and read and either scan and read the concepts in the textbook before I went to class. Finally, I would go back and I would then go through any review that I needed to do. I would plot some time in for those concepts, at least a single 25-minute block for those. I would plot in all of my time for writing notes and any other study activities that I would need to do during the week. After that, I would see what was left over and I would fill them up as required. So I would either put in concepts that I was not comfortable with yet, or I would put in more reading or more study time for things coming up or homework time, etc. Whatever I needed to do for school, I would plot in those Pomodoro planners. So when I actually got down to having to sit down on Monday or Tuesday and do that study time, it would already be laid out. It would already be planned. All of my books would already be noted. Everything I noted would already be on that planner. All I had to do is look at it, look at my required materials, pull them out, sit down, and start working. Now, in my 5-minute breaks, because your brain works so much better when the blood is pumping, I would usually run around and I would do small organization tasks. So if I had to pack my lunch for the next day, I would do that. If I had to tidy up and clean my work area or my office area, I would do that. If I needed to do a load of laundry, I would run down and do that. That's what I would do in my 5-minute breaks. because there are things that I don't necessarily want to do later. So 5 minutes of wiping off a counter or 5 minutes of throwing your laundry into the washing machine, I can handle that. I can say, I'm going to do this cleaning task for 5 minutes and then I can be done with it. And that way it doesn't pile up. I'm constantly doing a little cleaning task and my laundry exploding out of control and not wanting to spend an entire Sunday on laundry. I still use this with my business. If I'm writing a blog post or if I'm doing anything else, I will still use the Pomodoro technique because it is so effective in giving you the time and space to focus, get an item done very quickly, and then move on. If you are not completely convinced, I do have another video where I discuss 10 benefits of the Pomodoro technique. I'm going to link that above and a full article down in the description so that you can learn a little bit more about our favorite productivity hack. If you need some more study help, don't forget to head down there, pick up the study planner. Like I said, it's free and it can help you to find different study activities. I believe there are more than 20 of them on my tracker, or the Pomodoro Planner, which is an efficient template to help you organize your study schedule. You can do that for the full week and just get it done so that you're not spinning your wheels. And while you're down there getting all of those goodies in the description, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I put out a new video every week and they are always about study hacks, organizational tips, or homework help to help you with the study struggle. You can visit my website. There are a ton of free articles and useful resources at www.absolutelystudying.com. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing adventure.